But why buy altcoins at all? He asked himself, contemplatively. Why indeed when the larger altcoin market is being crushed under heel of the almighty Bitcoin? The Bitcoin dominance as of 2 months ago had climbed up to the lower 60% range as the Bitcoin price began to recover. And then recently, and as of today, the dominance has been hovering around about 70%. Adding to that, a recent report from the good people at Arcane Research suggests that for the altcoin holders and hopefuls among us, the picture might actually be just a little bit gloomier still. The report went into a lot of depth, but there are a couple of observations from it that I would like to highlight. And these are things that make really good sense to me. And if you're like me, they're things that you might have already thought about, but then maybe also decided not to think too much about. And I'm talking to you, Steve. So the first observation is pretty straightforward, and it just deals with the way that we consider stablecoins in relation to the altcoin market cap. And what they're saying is that we typically consider an altcoin to be any sort of crypto that isn't Bitcoin, even stablecoins. But people don't hold stablecoins for the same reasons they hold altcoins. People typically hold altcoins as some kind of a speculative play because there's some kind of technology or some kind of vision or some kind of a community that's behind their favorite altcoin. On the other hand, people hold stablecoins simply as a convenient way to store and move and trade their fiat within the exchanges. So one way of looking at this is that stablecoins don't actually represent a portion of the altcoin market cap. Rather, they represent a very small portion of the typically USD market cap. Another way of looking at it is that stablecoins just represent a lot of temporarily sidelined money that will mostly go back into Bitcoin at some future point in time. So it isn't exactly fair to just sort of lump all the stablecoins in with the altcoins and then say, oh, look, when we lump in all of this sidelined money into the altcoins, look how big the altcoin market cap is. The second observation is a little more interesting, and it deals with the fact that Bitcoin exchange volume, or if you like, liquidity, is literally orders of magnitude higher than many of the hundreds of smaller altcoin projects out there, and even a good deal higher than the larger altcoin project, or even the largest altcoin projects, such as Ethereum, Ripple, etc. The question they're asking us about this is how much of that altcoin market cap is real value. So to put that part of the problem into perspective, let's do a little bit of a thought experiment, shall we? Let's just imagine for a moment that I'm going to sit down today and I'm going to decide that I'm going to just, out of thin air, invent my very own brand new cryptocurrency. In fact, we'll say that I'm going to create my own ERC20 token, and that's not hard to do, by the way. And then I'll give it a total circulating supply of 1 trillion units. That's trillion with a T. Now, let's further imagine that I have a friend or two who maybe they have a few connections and they help me get my coin listed on a couple of the small exchanges. They're small, but that are still being watched by sites like CoinMarketCap. And so they're going to get maybe a small portion of my 1 trillion tokens onto those exchanges. And so the day comes that my coin is finally listed, and nobody's really interested in it. Maybe because it's entirely worthless. But I decide that since there's not a whole lot of interest in the tokens that I've managed to get into these two small little exchanges, I'm just going to log in there myself, and I'm going to buy a few hundred units of my own token, let's say at 10 cents each. The calculation used by sites like CoinMarketCap is pretty simple. What it does is it just looks at the average price of the last few trades for that coin, and it multiplies that by the total circulating supply. So in my case, that would be the 10 cents that I bought my coins at, because I'm basically the only one buying them, times the total circulating supply of 1 trillion. meaning that the totally worthless ERC20 token that I invented out of boredom one lazy Sunday afternoon now has a market cap of
$100 billion.
Now, is that real money? No. To put an even finer point on it, if I gave you $1 million worth of my newly invented token, would you have any confidence that you would be able to exchange it for $1 million? Versus how would you feel if I instead gave you $1 million worth of Bitcoin? Very differently, one would assume. So what the report concludes is that when we exclude stablecoins from the altcoin market cap, and we also factor in liquidity, we factor it into something called the volume weighted exchange average or something like that. When we factor all of that in, we wind up getting a Bitcoin dominance that is actually closer to about 90%. Now, that kind of news, that's the kind of thing that can get your typical altcoin holder to go and sit under a great big gloomy cloud of market doubt. But let's see if we can turn the tables a little bit here. Maybe put a bit of a contrarian spin on the situation. If we start by accepting the primary finding of the report, and we assume it's true that the Bitcoin market dominance now exceeds 90%, one way of interpreting that is that the Bitcoin dominance actually doesn't have a whole lot higher it can go. Another thing that we can say is that if a large portion of what previously had been considered the altcoin market cap was derived from sort of fake altcoins or fake value from really small altcoin projects with no actual market cap, it does mean that for those of us who are holding on to the larger, more legitimate altcoin projects, we actually maybe have a larger share of the altcoin market cap than we previously thought. And please realize that I'm not here to give any kind of financial advice. And for all I know, the altcoin market will get cut in half tomorrow. But if you're like me, then you might take the view that there's room in the world for more than just one cryptocurrency. And you might look at the altcoins and say, gee, yeah, a lot of these things are completely worthless if we're honest with ourselves. But at least a good handful of these altcoins do have legitimately useful purposes, useful properties, have lots of developers behind them, have large communities, and most importantly, they have lots of funding, at least some of them, that will allow them to sustain themselves many years into the future. And so if you take that into account, and along with some basically aspects of human psychology, you might well predict that we're going to eventually see a rebound in the altcoin market, at least for some of those more promising altcoins. What kind of human psychology am I talking about? I'm talking about the psychology that caused your Uncle Bill and your long-lost best friend Jane to give you a direct message when the altcoin market was on its wild tear, back in late 2017, asking you, like, what do you think about this Ripple? What do you think about, Stellar? It's let me be clear though. The next time around, the market is going to be a lot wiser, okay? Many of us are here who have learned lessons from the previous market cycles. There will, of course, be newcomers who are going to repeat the same mistakes that all of us made years ago. But even so, even considering all of that, you're going to have new folks who are looking for the next Bitcoin because they feel like they missed out on the gravy train. But you're also going to have people who've been in the markets for a while who are, at some future point flush with cash or flush with Bitcoin, and are maybe starting to get a little bit bored because at some future point, the value of Bitcoin is going to hit an all-time high. It's going to plateau and level out, and it's just going to trend sideways for a while. You can almost guarantee that that's going to happen at some future point in time. And if you believe at that point in time that you're still going to have plenty of strong, promising altcoin projects in the market, you can just about guarantee that you're going to have some Bitcoin holders getting a little bit bored, getting a little bit restless. They're used to seeing the market jump every day, day after day, and now it seems to be kind of stopping in regards to Bitcoin. But now there are these little altcoin projects that have much lower capitalizations, and hey, they're starting to snap. They're starting to pop up. How long does it take before we all start to start testing the waters a little bit, and some of those small market cap gems start to pop again the same way they did in late 2017? The trick is, of course, identifying which of those projects to invest our money in. So this was my inaugural YouTube video. This is actually the first YouTube video of any kind I've basically done. I've held cryptocurrency for years, and I've spent a lot of time just kind of lurking and kind of watching the action from the sidelines. And I decided that I wanted to make my own channel. So here I am. Hi guys. In my video for next week, I'm going to answer the main question that I've sort of teased at in this video. And I'm going to tell you which altcoin is my favorite. And from there, I'm going to kind of do a deep dive into that project and talk about why I think it's a coin that everyone should be looking at. So if that sounds interesting to you, why not hit the subscribe or the little bell so you can know when that update will be posted. Until then, though, I would love to hear from you guys. If you would like to post in the comments and let me know which altcoin projects you are most interested in and why. Maybe we can come up with a few that we're interested in following. That's all I've got for this time. Until next time, if the market gets you down, see if you can't turn the tables.
Maybe we go back.